Okay, I had to do this article um, from the New York Times today. R.Kelly is sentenced to 30 years for scheme to lure children into sex. I'm just going to read the article. It's a long article. I didn't know it was this bad. Like, whenever I heard about it years and years and years ago, it's disgusting. It's a long article, so bear with me. The R&B singer, 55, is likely to spend much of the rest of his life in prison after being convicted of years of psychological and sexual abuse. R. Kelly's 30-year sentence was the end of a long downfall for the former superstar. R. Kelly, the former R&B singer who had long escaped criminal penalties despite decades of sexual misconduct allegations, was sentenced to 30 years in prison for Wednesday. Oh my gosh. Was sentenced to 30 years in prison Wednesday for sex trafficking and racketeering. The sentencing in Brooklyn marks the culmination of a stunning downfall for Mr. Kelly, 55, from a superstar hitmaker who was known as the king of R&B to a shunned artist whose musical legacy has become inextricable from his abuses. The chart-topping artist was among the most successful American musicians in the 1990s and 2000s, known for his hits like I Believe I Can Fly, but as his public image soared, he exploited his vast access to young fans and aspiring artists at concerts, luring them into sex with little regard for their age. The multi-platinum singer was found guilty on 9 counts of racketeering and other crimes in September after his federal trial in New York shed light on how he used enablers and sycophants. I'm not pronouncing that right. To ensnare fans and aspiring artists while controlling their lives. The case was widely seen as a crucial milestone for the #MeToo movement, representing the first high-profile trial since the national reckoning around sexual misconduct to feature a powerful man whose victims were primarily black women. Before the sentence was read, Judge Donnelly listened to several accusers deliver vivid victim impact statements detailing the ways their lives were marred by the singer. The accounts added to the trial testimony of 11 accusers, 9 women and 2 men. That's disgusting. Sorry. Who often told jurors that Mr. Kelly had inflicted severe sexual, physical, and emotional abuse. Several testified that they were minors when he first had sex with them. Mr. Kelly's lawyer, Jennifer Bonjean, had argued that the government's understanding of the appropriate sentencing range was flawed and asked for a sentence of under 10 years. Wow, bitch. But Judge Donnelly ultimately agreed with prosecutors who asked for a term in excess of 25 years. Federal prosecutors wrote in their sentencing letter that Mr. Kelly has shown no remorse and for decades exhibited a callous disregard for the effects of his abuse on victims. His actions seem to have been fueled by narcissism and a belief that his musical talent absolved him of any need to conform his conduct to the law, they wrote in their argument for a sentence. I totally believe that. He should rot in there. He committed these crimes using his fame and stardom as both a shield, which prevented close scrutiny or condemnation of his actions, prosecutors wrote, and a sword, which gave him access to wealth and a network of enablers to facilitate his crimes, and an enduring fan base from which to cull his victims. Mr. Kelly, whose full name is Robert Sylvester Kelly, was first accused of having sex with underage girls in the 1990s. I'm sorry, that is so ridiculous. What the heck? He should get over 30 years. He's been doing this. This is 2022. He's been doing this for 30 years. For over 30 years. Sorry. And his illegal marriage to the singer Aaliyah in 1994. Oh my gosh, I love Aaliyah. I didn't know they were illegally married. Rest in peace, Aaliyah. That's a whole different story. And his illegal marriage to the singer Aaliyah in 1994, who was 15 at the time, prompted questions about his behavior. A few years later, in 2002, Mr. Kelly was indicted on child porn charges, but was acquitted in 2008 at a trial in Chicago. It was not until the #MeToo movement renewed scrutiny of his conduct that a new wave of charges arrived, and a conviction finally stuck in New York. In her sentencing letter, which was unsealed on Tuesday, Miss Bonjean, Mr. Kelly's lawyer, told the judge that prosecutors portrayed her client as one-dimensional villain, undeserving of any measure of humanity or dignity, and that there is far more to the picture. Bitch, no. She said that oh, hell nah, bitch. You do not get to blame childhood trauma or any trauma whenever you turn around and do something, especially for 30 years. I'm sorry, no. She said that his traumatic childhood, which includes severe history of sexual abuse by relatives and others, warrants a lenient sentence. Mr. Kelly said in a 2016 interview with GQ that he was sexually abused while growing up. He is not an evil monster, but a complex, unquestionably flawed human being who faced overwhelming challenges in childhood that shaped his adult life, Miss Bonjean wrote. Oh, dang. At trial, Mr. Kelly's lawyers sought to frame his accusers as obsessive fans and opportunists who sought financial gain, but the jury ultimately believed the prosecution, as they should. That's a slap in the face to those victims. The defendant's victims aren't groupies or gold diggers. They are human beings, Nadia Shihata, an assistant U.S. attorney, said at the end of the trial. Daughters, sisters, some are now mothers, and their lives matter. He's sick. R.Kelly will face a second federal trial set for August. For the victims of the R&B singer R.Kelly, his sentencing in New York on Wednesday has been a long wait, arriving after decades of accusations of sexual and physical abuse. But Wednesday's decision aside, the former entertainer will remain in deep legal peril, and any prison term he faces could still ultimately grow, as it should. Mr. Kelly is scheduled to stand trial again in Chicago on August 15th, where he faces federal charges for producing child pornography, and luring minors into sex acts. That's so sick, bro. That's so sick. There's no. Oh, hopefully he won't go to like a celebrity prison. I can't stand that. I don't care if you're a celebrity or not, you should all go to the same prison. And whatever happens, happens. Sorry. Hope you know God. Which doesn't seem like you do, or you wouldn't be doing this. Sorry. It will arrive 14 years after his first Illinois trial, a high-profile affair in 2008, where he was acquitted of more than a dozen counts of child porn. Now, prosecutors say that Mr. Kelly and two former employees, Daryl McDavid and Milton Brown, tried to manipulate the case's outcome, paying off witnesses and victims to buy their cooperation. Fucker. One man, for example, received about $170,000. Oh, hell no. You think I'm going to shut my mouth for $170,000? Shit. You got me fucked up. One man, for example, received about $170,000 in 2008 to cancel a news conference where he was set to announce he had video evidence of the singer's illegal sexual behavior, the indictment claims. Shit. I'll take that money and still go on. Mr. Kelly and his two former employees have pleaded not guilty to the allegations. Mr. Kelly also faces other state sex crime charges in Illinois and accusations of prostitution with a minor fucking bitch in Minnesota. He is I don't even know. But yeah, he should get more than 30 years. And I hope he suffers. I know that's not nice for me to say, but it's so hard because it's like an eye for an eye or turn your other cheek, you know? I would say I hope he gets everything that he put everybody else through, but he would probably enjoy that. My gosh. Karma. The scene at the Chicago courthouse could be far different from the New York trial, where just a few supporters of Mr. Kelly arrived to watch the proceedings each day. Throughout his career, Mr. Kelly leaned on his deep connections to Chicago, his hometown, and has retained a sizable group of fans in the city. Still, the August trial is not expected to fully mirror the atmosphere around his first case, when Mr. Kelly was invited to perform alongside children at a Chicago church the same day that he pleaded not guilty to the child pornography accusations. Are you freaking kidding me? What church is this? Who allowed this? Why would y'all do this? As he left the courthouse upon his acquittal, Mr. Kelly saluted a large contingent of supporters who cheered with little pushback from others in the crowd. Disgusting. Lizette Martinez, one of the victims who spoke earlier at the hearing, told reporters she was an up-and-coming singer, a girl full of life before she met R.Kelly and became a sex slave. I personally don't think it's enough, but I'm pleased with it, she said, of his 30-year sentence. Gloria Allred, the lawyer for the victims, addressed reporters outside of the courthouse with at least one of the women who gave statements today behind her. They wanted the court to understand their pain, she said. Together they were able to fight his power by becoming empowered, she added. I'm proud of all of them. Allred said they are relieved he has been sent to prison. Protecting other girls has been a major goal, she said. Breon S. Peace, the U.S. attorney in Brooklyn, spoke to the reporters outside the courthouse. This is a significant outcome for all victims of R.Kelly, he said. He continued committing his crimes for almost 30 years and avoided punishment until today. Yeah, and that's a damn shame that it took over 30 years for this shit. Why? Do you know how many victims y'all could have, prevented? Jennifer Bonjean, I don't like you. I don't know you, but I don't like you. Jennifer Bonjean, R. Kelly's lawyer, spoke to the press outside of the courthouse. He is not a predator. Okay. He was prepared for it. Yeah, because he's fucking guilty. She said of Kelly's reaction to the sentencing. He has regrets and he is sad, she added. He disagrees with the characterizations that have been made about him. Judge Ann M. Donnelly said that her sentence is one I would have imposed regardless of the guidelines. Donnelly spent minutes detailing instances of abuse and violence that were brought up during the trial and addressed Kelly directly about what he did to his victims. These crimes were calculated and carefully planned and regularly executed for almost 25 years, she said. You taught them that love is enslavement and violence. Prior to his sentencing, R.Kelly declined to make a statement because of pending litigation, his attorney said. When asked directly by the judge, he said, "Yes, Your Honor, that is my wish." Judge Ann M. Donnelly told R.Kelly that the public has to be protected from behaviors like this. Who is the judge who sentenced R.Kelly? Ann M. Donnelly, the judge who sentenced the former R&B artist R.Kelly, was thrust into the national spotlight after former President Donald J. Trump's executive order that barred refugees from entering the United States. Judge Donnelly ruled that the order could lead to irreparable harm if travelers were sent home. She once again made a high-profile decision, handing down Mr. Kelly's sentence on Wednesday, which could leave him with life in prison, despite his defense lawyer's request for 10 years. 10 years? Okay, I think all this is just, like, older. Yeah. Okay, I just read the most recent one. That's so sick. I hope he goes straight to prison. I hope he gets what he deserves and goes whenever God wants him to, however he wants him to. That's disturbing. It has been decades that he has been doing this stuff. And it all could have been prevented.